There we go. You got the message. Recording in progress. All right. So here's what I tell students as well. So when they come to me in the Writing Center, I'm trying to share best overall practices with you, whether it be Turabian or whether it be APA. I am sharing things from you by the book, but you're going to discover that things are going to vary from class to class. For the most part, professors are going to require the same things or similar things, but the golden rule of academic writing and research is that the professors make all the rules. So if I tell you something, you're like, wait a minute, Matt, Professor so-and-so told me that. Well, do what Professor so-and-so said, and I can come alongside you and help you figure out whatever it is you need to do to make whatever the professor asks happen. So just remember that academic writing, follow the professor's guidelines always. That's why it's so critical, especially at this level of education, is to live by your syllabus. I promise you, all the professors, they go to great lengths to provide things in your syllabus. If it's not in the syllabus and you have questions, I encourage you to reach out to your professor. They'll be more than willing and able to help you there. So let's spend a few moments and define what research is. Now, most of us have a good idea at this point in time what research is, and all of us, we really we engage in research each and every day. Every time we log on and look up a phone, or try to make a best decision when it comes to shopping or purchasing anything, all that is research. But for our purposes here, we're going to stick with this definition that we find in Kate Turabian's book for research. And that's simply this: it's a process of systematic inquiry to answer a question that not only the researcher, but others want to solve as well. So, man, that may be a little bit different of a definition than you're used to seeing when it comes to research. Maybe what you think in your mind when someone mentions research, maybe you think about going to the library and just reading books and taking a bunch of notes. Well, that's a sliver of what research is. But when we are conducting research on the graduate level, and especially when we're doing theological research here, and no matter if you're in the counseling department or if you're in one of the theology tracks, we're doing theological research here at the seminary, because no matter what we're doing, as I mentioned before, we're trying to do what God has called us to do. We're trying to prepare ourselves for that ministry. So we're trying to grow in the Lord. And when we grow in the Lord, the people that we're ministering to grow in the Lord. And guess what? That is the completion of the Great Commission, right? We're going out and we're making disciples of all people. So it's very important for us when we conduct research that we delve into our deepest how and why questions. And we just can't approach that all willy-nilly. Like we can if we don't care, but if we really want to learn something, we've got to develop a system in which to bring everything together so that we can learn and that we can also produce as well. Because who knows at this level what your paper is going to do. It might turn into a sermon one day. A professor might sit and say, hey, I know this magazine, this scholarly journal or whatever that is looking for an article just like this. It might be published. Who knows what happened? It may be put out on the internet. You might use that. There's no telling what the work that you're doing now, how that could make an impact in somebody's life for eternity. So I think that it's very important that we approach our research like it's ministry. So our research paper, it's not, we're trying to get the best grade that we possibly can, but it's so much more than that. I believe that theological research is the academic practice of knowing God. And that's what we're all trying to do here. But in order to get it to a place where it can be useful for others, we've got to develop a system. So I like to think of research as hitting a target. You know, I love the story of Robin Hood and his merry men. Kevin Costner made a movie about that, you know, back in the early 90s. It's my favorite version of the Robin Hood tale. But those guys had bow and arrows, man. And I don't know if you've ever shot a bow and arrow, but it is difficult. You've got to be so still. You've got to breathe just right. You've really got to be in good condition in order to shoot a bow accurately. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in research. We're trying to dial things in. We're trying to do lots of different things that if we do them all right together, when we pull that trigger, that arrow comes out flying straight and true, and it goes right to the target. Another one of my favorite movies is Mel Gibson's The Patriot, and he's teaching his little young son to shoot, and he tells his son to aim small. If he aims small, you miss small. So I've always remembered that. So in the process of conducting research, we can begin by identifying that research projects have 5 general aims. And I mentioned those before, but here they are. Every research project should have these 5 things in common. Now, I didn't make these things up. These are straight from Kate Turabian here. Number 1, we should ask a question worth answering. A lot of us know that as the topic. Then number 2, we should find an answer or answers that you can support with good reasons. In other words, you need to test that topic. Then number 3, you need to find good data that you can use that will serve as reliable evidence to support your reasons. That's actually the process that we think of in our mind when the term research is mentioned. Then number 4, we draft our argument. And then number 5, we go into the revision stage. Now, number 4 and number 5 is where you actually write your paper. And we're not going to get into that today, but we're going to really focus in on getting everything together, making sure that you have the superstructure of your paper ready, so that when it comes time to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, you're ready to go. You've got everything that you need. So we're going to focus on those 3 aims. The first one is to ask a question worth answering. Hang on, I've got to let somebody in here. There we go. Sorry, I had to move a few things around on my screen. So the first step in actually conducting research is to ask a question worth answering. What are you talking about there, Matt? Well, that's the first step in narrowing the scope of your research. Have you ever submitted a topic to a professor and they send it back to you and they say, no, that's too broad. You can't do that. And then you're sitting there scratching your head and you're trying to figure out, you know, where you missed it. What do you do to whittle it down? And then all of a sudden you're spending a couple of hours just trying to whittle down your topic to something that the professor will want. And all of a sudden that exercise can turn around on itself. You know, you find yourself trying to get things to where the professor wants it to be, rather than, you know, something that's on your heart and within the scope of the class to research. So I have found, that if we apply this simple formula, this will help us to really narrow down the topic creation process in researching. Now, this is straight out of Kate Turabian as well, and I've been using this for the past couple of years. I love the way that it works. So the first step in the process is to get your topic. You're working on X, whatever X is. Identify that. That's the broad subject. Now that's where most people stop, and that's where most people's research proposals get kicked back to them. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of professors, before you have the research project, will have a research proposal that they want you to send in. Well, they're trying to help you make sure that your topic is narrow enough for you to write a 15-page paper and it not be so huge and comprehensive. So applying this formula will go a long way to do that. So you begin with your topic. I'm working on X. Then you ask a question because I want to find out why. And then you follow that up with significance so that I can help others understand Z. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to work you're working ever towards significance. And why is that important? Well, because your research topics, ultimately, it's ministry. It's not just, it's okay to start a paper with, hey, I'm interested in this. But what's really going to be practical help for you in your ministry is to say, okay, how is this going to help other people? And there's a ton of different ways that you can answer that. So we begin with the topic. I'm working on X. Then we come back with the question because I want to find out why. And we work towards that significance. Now, you might not find that significant until you get your research done, but you're always working towards that research. So in reality, it could look something like this. Your topic could be the relationship between the Gospel of Luke and Acts. And here's your question. Is Acts a continuation of Luke's gospel? Well, here's the significance. I want to help others understand that the church continues the work of Christ in the world through the power of the Holy Spirit. That's the way that whole thing can work together. So let's just review that. First, you're going to start off, you're going to choose your topic. The way that you choose your topic, I'm going to flip back and forth between these. The way you choose your topic, you might have a topic that you want to go with, that's fine. Or you can just write 2 or 3 topics down and work through them that way if you want to. Then you're going to ask a question. You're going to ask, ideally, you can write down lots of questions that you have about that topic because you might have more than one. Pick 1 or 2 that interest you the most and begin to conduct your research in light of those questions. So think about that. If you're doing a paper on prevenient grace, well, that's just a wide topic. Where in the world do you start with that? Well, if you've got a specific question about prevenient grace, like where does prevenient grace fit into the Ordo Salutis or the Via Salutis? How is a prevenient grace sent from God into the world? All of these things, you take that question, and that question is going to help direct your research. And the whole time, you're looking to find significance. So you're going to write down several ways that your project can benefit others or a specific audience, and you're going to begin to work towards that end. So we kind of overviewed everything there. We'll just buzz through these so we can get to the research portion. When you get to after you get your X figured out, your topic, then you're going to write out several questions. These are going to be your hypothesis. So here's an example. We've got a topic, the origin of evil. And here's a good question. How can a good God allow evil to exist in the world? Well, here are some working hypothesis examples that you can begin to research. God is the greatest good and no evil can come from him. Well, that gives you a direction. And you can restate that in the form of a question if you want to. Evil is the result of willful rebellion against the goodness of God and his creatures. Formulate that into a question and go for it. And then so on and so forth. I think you get the idea here. You're going to start with a topic, then you're going to ask a question, and those questions that you're going to come up with, those are going to kind of be your working hypotheses that will help direct you in your research. Like if you are, again, I'm going to go back to prevenient grace because we're going to use that as our research example here in a moment. If you're reading through Randy Maddox's responsible grace, well, where do you start in Maddox? Like you can't just rewrite his whole book. You've got to start somewhere, or else you're just you're going to have too much stuff to do and not enough time in which to do it. So in all the time, I can't stress this enough, that your broad topic is narrowed by a question and you're working towards significance. So I would encourage you that you shouldn't get locked into one hypothesis too early, because maybe you're researching a topic that you're very interested in, and maybe you've got a legitimate question like you don't know, and you've got a pretty strong assertion that you're trying to test. Well, that's great. You know, that's a scientific approach. I'm all for that. So you just have to test your hypothesis with your research and allow it to develop with your paper, because I'm telling you, you can conduct research for the whole paper and it's fine if you don't prove your hypothesis. You've still done good research. You've still got a good, you've got a good paper. You can just say that you were wrong. And I'll give you a real life example of that just here in a minute. So, and that brings us to finding good data. So after we establish our topic, after we narrow that down with a question or a series of questions, and we're working towards significance, helping others, how does our research paper, how can it apply to other people? How can it be, why should our professor care about what we're talking about? We know that they care, but you know what I'm saying. I hope you know what I'm saying. How can it apply to them? So topic, that's broader. We're narrowing it down by asking a question or a series of questions, and the answers to those questions are going to help us to communicate significance in our research project. So in order to do that, you've got to find good data that you can use as reliable evidence to support your reasons. So let's take a look at the different source types that we want to use. Of course, when you are testing a hypothesis, you have to have reliable resources. It has to, the superstructure has to be strong enough to hold up the house, right? So there are three main types of resources or types of sources that we will encounter. There are primary sources. So let's go back and use our John Wesley thing. Anything that John Wesley wrote himself is a primary Wesley source. A primary source says that I was there and I saw it. So we've got on my shelf, I've got, oh look, and this one's edited by Randy Maddox. There's about 20 of these books. I found that I was coming to two specific books in this series, so I bought two of those. But this is chock full of John Wesley's original stuff. This is a primary resource. However, a secondary resource would be Responsible Grace by Randy Maddox. It's books. Secondary resources can be books, articles, papers, reports that are based on primary sources. It says, I wasn't there, but I engaged the material somehow and I'm writing about it. So you're going to want to spend the majority of your time researching in primary and secondary sources. On the graduate level, we're being really careful about the tertiary resources that we incorporate. These are going to be encyclopedias, textbooks, on the Old Testament or the New Testament. Bible dictionaries, even if it's a good solid academic dictionary like in Erdman's. Now, if you've got access to the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament or the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament, that's okay. There are original language resources and lexicons; those fit into the tertiary area. So if you're doing, and then again, just depends on what type of paper that you're doing. If you're doing an exegetical research paper, on a passage in the Bible, and you're engaging, Greek and Hebrew sources, you're going to be using some of those tertiary lexicons and things like that. So it depends on what type of paper, but for the most part, you're going to want to glean from primary and secondary resources. And that's one of the things that we're going to show you how to navigate here in just a few moments. So a sample 20-page research paper is going to look something like this. You're going to want to incorporate 3 to 5 primary sources if possible. Now, you can use these sources to guide you to other sources, and sometimes even secondary resources can help guide you to primary resources. Again, going back to Randy Max's Prevenient Grace. I've used that book in several of my papers, and my very first paper that I wrote, that I used Randy Maddox's Responsible Grace, it actually pointed me to that series on John Wesley, and I was like, oh my gosh, I found all of this. So be really attentive when you're reading secondary resources. Take a look at the footnotes, take a look at the bibliography, because you'll be able to incorporate a lot of that into your paper as well. It's a good place to start. So 3 to 5 primary resources and somewhere between 15 to 17 other sources. That can be books by one author, multiple authors, academic journals, lexicons, academic Bible dictionaries. My experience is that on this level, the professors want to see a variety of good, solid academic resources. They don't want it to be just books. I remember one paper that I wrote. It was in my opinion, it was a fantastic bibliography. I had just some really good, solid books. I'd put in a lot of good work. And the professor came back. He was very encouraging. He said, solid work, Matt, but your bibliography could have been strengthened by using a few more academic journals and resources. So I thought to myself, oh man, it was just a good learning thing for me. So you want to utilize a variety of good resources. And lots of times your professors, they'll give you direction as to what they want you to do. So once you've got your resources, that's when the reading and the note-taking begins to take place. But you see what we do here, like if we get our topic right, and if we've got some good solid questions where we can begin to look at these sources and do some good detective work. I don't know if you guys remember the show that came on in the 80s with Andy Griffith called Matlock. Like my mama and my grandmama watched that show religiously, Matlock and Perry Mason, and all of these things. So when we're researching, we're constantly asking these questions to help us to arrive at that significance. So what does that look like? Well, let's go and do some live research together. Now, I'm on the next slide, the next couple of slides here, I am going to give you I'm going to give you a research scenario that I actually work through. So before we go into that, most of when you begin your research, most of the time you'll be able to use your course textbooks, your personal library. If there's a software that I really love to use for Bible study called Logos. They have a free version that you can use, but really Squire's library online is a treasure trove of information. We're not going to have time to go into it, but once you get all your sources together and organized, you can use a program called Zotero or EndNote to actually organize those resources, keep them forever, and they'll actually help you cite while you write. That's an entirely different training. If you're interested in using, a program like that, send me an email and I'll get with you one-on-one. I tried to incorporate that last time into this and it just went way too long. So to our research topic. So way back when, well, what seems like way back when I was with Dr. Ritchie in historical theology, this was my research topic. So I love John Wesley and I love Saint Augustine. Both, I love both of their theologies. I wanted to compare and contrast preventing salvific grace from a Wesleyan and Arminian perspective. I want to do this for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons why I want to do this is I don't think that there's a ton of people doing that kind of synergistic work. So I'm kind of just personally drawn into those esoteric areas where not a lot of people might be doing research. And the question that I had, the legitimate question that I had was, is Wesleyan prevenient grace really an expression of the Augustinian interpretation of the doctrine of election? And here's why: because Wesley in one of his treatises, Predestination Calmly Considered, he says that we come within a hair's breadth of Calvinism. And I thought to myself, if he says he comes within a hair's breadth of Calvinism, I'm wondering how close he actually is to St. Augustine on some of these issues. So I had that question. So I wanted to research that. And here was the significance. The conclusions could have a significant impact on Pentecostal ministry orthopractice. So that was my significance. So my working hypothesis was the answer to this question: is Wesleyan prevenient grace really an expression of the Augustinian interpretation, blah, 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 blah? Well, my working hypothesis was yes. And John Wesley was a closet Augustinian. That was my working hypothesis. And I'm going to tell you what I found out. That hypothesis was not true. Wesleyan prevenient grace is really different from the Augustinian interpretation of election. And John Wesley in no way was a closet Augustinian. So I did this paper at the beginning of my my seminary career here, but it was fun to do. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to do some research on prevenient grace. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to share another screen, if I can bring it up. And we are going to go straight in to Populi. So you can access Squire's library from your Populi homepage. This is the easiest place to access it. When you log on, before you go to any of your classes, if you'll just go up in this little gray area right here, if you just click on links, come down here to library access. Click on library access and it will take you to Squire's library. So I'm going to do that one more time, because if you don't do it this way, it can be, if you go to Lee University's homepage, it can be difficult. So go to Populi, click on links, then click on library access. Once you're here, I would advise not to begin using the search bar. You can use it if you want to. You're all adults. Do what you want. I advise to not start here. I would advise by beginning to search by clicking on databases, because this is what's going to happen. If you click search here, it's going to pull up a search of the stacks in Squires Library. Like, it's going to think that you're looking for a book, and that's all fine. I think that Lee University will actually, or the Squires Library will, you can check out a book or a couple of books and they can have it mailed to you. But that might take a lot of time. I don't know, especially if you're overseas. I don't know how that works at all. So what we're looking for here is electronic resources, stuff that's already online. So the best way to do that is to click on databases. Once you're in databases, you have 146 different sets of compiled data to sort through. Now, a lot of this stuff is not going to be applicable to you. So when you get here, you want to click on to all subjects right here, this first little drop down, and it has grouped the various databases according to the main subject. You just want to scroll down to religion, philosophy, and Bible. If you're doing counseling or something like that, you might want to click here, or you can click on any of these. But again, we're doing for theological research. Come down to religion, philosophy, and the Bible, and it will bring up 32 databases. So just click on that. So now you're like, great, now we're down to 32 databases. Well, which ones do you use? Well, for me, I use this first one that comes up here, Atla Religion. It says it's your best bet. I use it. It's usually the first database that I click on. However, if you're looking for Pentecostal resources, specifically early Pentecostal resources, you're going to want to come down here to the Consortium of Pentecostal Archives. And we're going to do a search in all of these that I'm going to recommend. And then you're going to also come down here to JSTOR. So JSTOR, you're going to find articles and journals in JSTOR, but JSTOR is a specific project that is scanning in books. So if you've got like 8 articles and you're looking for a couple of books and you can't find them on Google Books, we won't go over Google Books tonight, but if you're looking for a book, there are lots of books that are scanned into Google Books. If you can't find it anywhere, there are a few times I've gone on and they have Google Books has had what I need, and it's free to access those as well. But JSTOR is another place where you can come to access books that have been scanned online, and it still counts as a book in your bibliography. It's an electronic source, but it still counts as a book. So, all right, so let's just go up here and let's do a search. We're going to search through all of these really quick. So we'll click on Atla Religion. And it'll kind of do its web thing. Sometimes now I'm already logged in. So sometimes it'll pop up a page and it'll say input your login credentials. Whenever you are going through this process, if it asks you for your login, input your seminary username and your seminary passcode. Try that. If that doesn't work, you'll have to reach out to a librarian at Lee University or at Squires Library. Now, if you've never, they are really good as long as, you know, there's a librarian there. They have an online chat feature that I've used a couple of times, and they are extremely helpful. Really great folks. So if you have a library, you know, based question, you know, if I don't, you know, if I'm there and I'm available, I'll be more than happy to help you out. But Squires Library's online chat is great. So, all right, now that we're in ATLA religion, this is going to be searching a lot of different scholarly resources from, you know, across the board. You're going to get Catholic, you're going to get Reformed, you're going to get Baptist, other Protestant, Pentecostal. You're going to get the whole gamut here. So, you know, it's one of those places where you can get a wide variety of good, solid academic sources. So we're just going to type in prevenient grace into the search. And it's going to do its thing. So what I like to do, if you'll notice, if you'll go down here, you'll see book. Well, I'm not interested in books because, and it doesn't even look like the library has these. So when you do your search here, come over here to limit to, check full text. That lets it know that any resource that you're looking at needs to, like the whole thing needs to be uploaded. So if you click full text and there's an ebook available, lots of times it'll pop up as well. And then for me, I always want to, I want to make sure that my sources come from a peer-reviewed journal. So I'll click this box here, scholarly peer-reviewed journal. And look at what that's done. It's narrowed the search results down to 4. So that lets me know that these are probably really, really good, solid articles on prevenient grace. So, and then you can play around with it. You can type in, you can get rid of grace and you can just put prevenient. See what that comes up with. Comes up with the same things. But you know, you can download a couple of these articles. You can look at some keywords. If you find some stuff that you want to research further, you can come in and you can just play around with the search here. If you get to a spot where you're trying to find something specific and you're having difficulty doing that, finding what you need, certainly reach out to me. You know, sometimes 2 heads are better than 1. I'll be more than happy to help you out wherever I can. So we can play around with this. We can uncheck scholarly peer-reviewed journals and just see what that does, because, you know, at the end of the day, this is a scholarly database. So most of the sources that are going on here, I think it's easy to you know, qualify that they're good, solid academic sources. So that brings up, you know, 10 good, solid sources on prevenient grace, and they are from they're from all over the map. And you can just click on any of these, and lots of times you can just you can just download them. So that's ATLA religion. So now let's say, okay, you've got your wide-ranging you know, Christian, you know, other Christian resources on the deal. Now you say, all right, I need some solid Pentecostal sources on this. So now you're going to go to the Consortium of Pentecostal Archives. Now, this is a collection of a lot of older journals and materials, really good, solid stuff. I mean, it's got, some of the oldest stuff that they have in here are have been journals and articles that have been scanned in from like the 1890s or something like that. It's really good. So just go up here again to search. You want to make sure, just search for all the years, unless you're wondering what they had to say about this in the 1940s or the 1980s. Then you can use that day, that date range. So you can type in prevenient grace. And here you have an opportunity to search throughout all of these publications. And these are a list of all the publications that they have, all the different denominations that are represented. And then just click search. So the search here is going to be a little different. Whereas the ATLA religion is going to be a little bit more user-friendly, because a lot of those things are electronic. All of these have been just scanned in. So what you have to do is you kind of have to begin a mining process here. You just click on one. Here's one from 1960. It'll take a few minutes to load, but it should have those words highlighted on the little PDF, which is cool. Look at that. I'm just scrolling through to see if it is highlighted. If it's not highlighted, you can just download this and search within the PDF. I'm not going to do that just for the sake of time. But if it comes up, if you conduct the search and the yeah. So you might have to, you'll probably have to download this and then just search in the PDF. So which is just an extra step. But again, if you're looking for older Pentecostal resources, it takes a little bit more time, but this is going to be the best and quickest way that you can do that. So that's the Consortium of Pentecostal Consortium of Pentecostal Archives. So, and that is, it's an archives. So just think it'll take a little bit more to mine that data. And then we'll go down here and we'll take a look at JSTOR real quick. And once you're here, we'll just do the same thing. Prevenient grace. And then look at all these resources on prevenient grace. Like if you didn't find what you needed in the other two, you've hit the jackpot here. So you've obviously got to go and sort through these a little bit. But if you're specifically looking for the book sources that I was telling you about, you can just click on under the academic content, the book chapters, and you can just go away there. This guy Matthew Levering, he's done a lot of good work on grace period. I've used him some, but as you just go down here, you just see a lot of good stuff that you could. Man, this looks like a good one. Oh man, Thomas Aquinas on grace. Might have to come and check this out myself. So, and they're constantly adding things here. So I love JSTOR. And again, if you come up, you can filter through this. You can play around with the subjects. You can do different searches. But the point is, between those three databases online, between Atla Religion, between the Consortium of Pentecostal, Archives, and between JSTOR, it's very likely that if you don't have access to a single hard copy book, you'll be able to find everything that you need to build a good research paper with solid sources from those three things in the databases on Squires Library. And there's even more. It's more exhaustive than that, but I like to focus in on those things because those are the three that I keep coming back to in my research. So those are just best practices from my seminary journey that I want to share with you guys. And the last thing that I want to make you guys aware of that that I've only recently become aware of myself. Let's see. Hang on.
Hey, Matt.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but to interrupt, before we leave all of that, could you show us one example of how to save that resource in a file that we create for us? That's one of the things we've been assigned to do so that we understand how to navigate through Squires Library, is to save that document and to hold on to that.
Okay. So are you, let me ask this question. Are you talking about saving it in a file on Squires Library, or saving it on a file in a file on your desktop?
For instance, if I've got my account in Squires Library, and then there's a file folder associated with that I can dump stuff in, so I can come back and review that.
So let's do this. Let's go back.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is very informing. I mean,
no, you're good.
The video tutorials were good, but to actually see this and walk through it is very good for me.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad it's helping just a little bit. So let's just go back and search for prevenient grace. All right, let's just, all right, full text. All right, let's check out Wrestling with Marduk, Old Testament Parallels and Prevenient Grace. This looks like a good one. All right. So if you're here, you'll notice up at the very top. Now this is within within Squires Library online. Okay. So everybody is going to have a sign in and a folder up here. All right. So I haven't done this in a minute, so just bear with me. You can create an account with Squires Library that will help you to organize your research into folders. I used that until I began using EndNote to do the same thing offline. But that's just a personal preference. All right. So if you click sign in, well, that didn't help y'all any because I have my sign in stuff already. Let me see if I can log out. Well, no. Here, what I'll do. So I'll just use this as an example. Okay, so when you log on to Squires Library, you can create an account just like you create any other online account. It's once you log on, it'll be at this blue area up top, and you can use your seminary credentials to log in and create an account that will help you keep track of all of your electronic sources on the cloud within Squires Library. So that way you've got access to it there. You don't have to, junk up your desktop, and it can keep things pretty organized for you. So let me go back. So I'm already signed in. And I've actually already got this in one of my folders. So I'm going to remove it from my folder. Looks like you can also import this into a Google Drive. I've never done that before. Okay. All right. So once you get signed in, remember, I'm sorry, when I made my account, I clicked the little thing that said when you sign in, just do it automatically. All right. So it wasn't difficult. You guys will be able to navigate that. Once you're logged in, you'll have access to this little folder area right here. So if you click on it, you can create different folders that you can organize your research into. And as you can see here, HT607, this was part of that original research project that I had that I had made. So of course, if you haven't done this, you're going to be starting from scratch. But once you get here, everybody is going to have all of this stuff here. If you want to create a new folder, you'll have to come down here to this part right here, and then you can just create new folder, and you can just name it my favorite folder, and you can even make it a part of another folder if you want to. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to write a little description here. Demo purposes. All right. Then we'll save that. And then if you go down here, you'll see my favorite folder. And then it's just as easy. And just to show how easy it is, let's just do a new search. Let's do something else. Let's search up justification. All right. So let's click on this article right here. And I like it. I like it. Let's just say that I'm in the, like, I'm just trying to mine resources right now. My goal is to get, 20 different articles that I think will help my paper and just get them organized into a place that I can go and look at them. So I'll just click on the article. Lots of times if you scroll down, well, sometimes there'll be a little abstract here, sometimes there won't. Sometimes you can tell by the title of an article if it's something that you want to use or you could use. Sometimes you can, take a look at the source, Journal of Ecumenical Studies. It's going to have a more broader interpretation of justification. But, in the when we're conducting academic exercises, we want to mine from all different types of sources, right? So if you're here and I say, yes, I want to look at it, but I don't want to look at it in detail right now, what I could do is just add it to the folder. So I just click on add to folder in tools, and I pick which folder that I want to add it to. So I'm going to put it in my favorite folder, and boom, it's there. And now when I want to access it, I just go up here to the folder and the little blue bar, click on that. Then go down and click on my favorite folder. Then click on articles, and then boom, that article is there along with every other article that I put in there. And as long as you are searching on the Squires Library site, you will be able to do that. So if you're in Atla, you can do that. And if you want to, so if you remember my first rule where I said, don't go and search in the main search bar. If you want to organize your resources using that feature in Squires Library, then by all means, please do use this main search bar. And let's just do that right now to see what that looks like. There'll be a little more shifting around that we'll need to do. So again, 8,400, almost 8,500 resources. Just come over here, click full text. It's got a lot of sources it's sifting through. Oh, that cut it in half. Then let's click peer reviewed. We need to drill down a little bit further, in my opinion. Then let's go here to academic journals. Just click that. And you're down to 1,500 resources now. If you want to get, if you want to drill it down further than that, you can. It's up to you. But you just have to do a few more steps right here. And there's, you can certainly do it this way if you want to, especially if you want to organize your sources in the folder. See, here's a nice one, Prevenient Grace, a Wesleyan view. That's probably one we want to include in a paper on Prevenient Grace. Well, let's just go ahead and add it to the folder. And I think that added it straight to, well, it's going to make me sign in again. Well, now that I signed in, it's going to make me do the search again. That's all right. We can go through it one more time. It's the same sources. I'm just logged in now, and we'll do the same exercise that we did a moment ago. Limit to full text. And limit to peer reviewed. Limit to academic journals. All right. Here's our article. Click on it. Great. Now a system problem has occurred. We've overloaded the system. Well, we might have broke it. Let's try another article. Well, it's not working now. Well, you get the gist of it. It would be the same way. The system's just not being nice right now for whatever reason. Well, that's on their end, not on ours. So the last thing that I want to, so we've gone through searching right here. It's just a wider berth. You'll have to, there'll be more sources that you have to sift through. You know, if that's what you want to do, go for it. It's great. I've done it both ways, totally up to you. But under library resources here, if you'll scroll down to PTS student resources, come down here to Bible commentaries online. You click on this and it's got links to lots of different commentaries that you can use. And that all should be available online. And this is really valuable because there might be, you know, if you're taking New Testament or Old Testament, like they're going to require several commentaries. And they can be expensive to purchase if you, you know, don't have access to them at a library or something like that. So this can be a really good option for you. So you just click on it and then boom, there you go. It's not the most appealing visually. Again, it takes a little bit more work, but so you can, here's the magnifying glass. You can scroll in, and this is actually one of my favorite commentary series, at least for from an academic standpoint, the critical and exegetical commentary series. So again, this just I mean, this is thousands of dollars just in the commentary sets right here. Thousands upon thousands. I mean, even tens of thousands of dollars worth of commentaries that you have access to, all from the comfort of your own home. And I mean, folks, while you got access to this stuff, these things can be great, great tools for sermon and lesson prep too. So I encourage you to use all of the sources that Squires Library, Lee University, and the Pentecostal Theological Seminary has given to you. So that is that's pretty much it for tonight, folks. My goal was to just to recap here, just help give you some practical steps to organize your research. You know, you develop to get us from the realm of just developing a topic to developing significance. And the bridge between topic and significance is the questions that you ask about the topic. It's a great practical way to drill down into a broader topic that you're interested in. It can help you out with your, you know, applying that formula can really help you out when you write your initial research proposals. And then once we've got that general direction that the topic and the question, those hypotheses will point us to, then we need to go in and start mining and doing the work. So we've gone to Squires Library online. We've looked at 3 different database sets and how to get there. The Atla Religion database, the Consortium of Pentecostal Archives, JSTOR, the Bible commentaries that are online within the PTS student resources on Squires Library. And then you've got your main search portal as well. Before we navigate off the library site here, is there any questions?
Yeah, Matt, I did in fact take quite some notes from your presentation, but I did miss some. Would you be open to sharing your slides?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so would you send it for us?
Yes.
Email it or you know.
Yeah, everybody that's on tonight or everybody that's signed up, I will send you. I'll send you a copy of the slides.
Thank you.
So, and if you do not receive a copy of the slides by the end of the day tomorrow, if you'll just send me an email to the Writing Center. It's Writing Center at ptseminary.edu. Let me.
I'm at Rita.
Hey, is that
Rita?
Wida?
Yes, it is. Quick question. I know it is somewhere written, but just phrase it for me. How do you join the library again?
Sure. So as a PTS student, you already have access, you have full access to the library. And the way that you do that is you log on to Populate, and from the very first page here, you click on links, and then you click on Library Access in blue, and it will bring you to Squires Library, and then you just begin your search. You can either search here in the bar, or you can go into databases and search. It may ask you to sign in again. Just use your PTS credentials to sign in, and it should let you in. But everybody here, if you're a student in good standing with PTS, you have access to everything that I've shown you.
Okay, I've done that. I just thought it was, I think one of the comments that somebody was making earlier, I thought there was a specific thing that you had to do in order to get a particular type of access. But if that is it, okay, I've done it before. And I must say that the chat with the librarian is very helpful. I do appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah, they're really good. over there. They know what they're doing. So anybody else before we conclude tonight?
Matt, will there be access to the recording as well?
Yes, so I will, I'll edit the recording here in the next couple of days. It may be next week before I get it up. I'll try to get it up by the end of the day on Friday, but when I do, I'll send you all an email too. I will upload it and put a link to the I'll put a link to the video on the Writing Center website, and you can access it there. And if you need to email the Writing Center, here's the Writing Center email address. And just one last thing. To get to the Writing Center website, you have to access that. You have to access that via Populi as well. So if you go back to Populi on the homepage and click on links, a little bit further down, right underneath library access, there's PTS Writing Center. Just click on that. It'll make you sign in again. Here, let me, so I've got 12 different Gmail accounts. But here's the Writing Center website. And if it's just a real simple website, if you go over here to resources, this was our webinar that we did on Turabian style last year. So we'll update that. So we've got several links here that can help you out as well. Awesome. Anything else? Wida, do you have another question? Maybe her hand's raised from before. Anybody else? All hearts and minds clear? All right, for right now. So I know this was a lot of information. If you need me for anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I would ask you to please send an email to the Writing Center. That just kind of helps me keep things separated there. And happy researching.
Thank you, Matt. Very informative. Have a great night.
Awesome. Y'all have a great night. It was awesome hanging out with y'all. Thanks for taking the time to be here with us. I know everybody's going to get a high A on their research projects this semester. All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, good night.
Y'all have a good night. Bye.
Hey, God bless. Bye.
Good night, everyone.